Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to HMP. I hope you've got a large man with no hands by your side, as this week we're covering the first 3 episodes of Blue Eye Samurai on Netflix. I'm your host, Adam Porterson, and joining me today, he too prefers ladies with black teeth, sweet Shanza Kovacs from the internet.
I really, really do not.
And he's naturally stealthy, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and that's why they put bells on my ankles.
Oh, I could definitely see Bruce being one of those guys who is a little larger, but is also ninja-like quiet and everything.
You better believe it.
Mostly because your wife would probably yell at you.
Yeah, they always give me Tic Tacs to carry around for my alleged bad breath.
Old Rob Schneider got that little kick there in Seinfeld. That was a good episode. Which, by the way, I was telling my boss about this. We can't do the coolest thing that you could do with Tic Tacs, which was once you get like a Tic Tac box, it's empty. You don't have anything in it. It's just that little plastic and everything. The whole old hard plastic, you could crunch that really well, right? So what you do is you go around somebody that's unsuspecting and you're like, oh man, my neck is really killing me. You palm that little one like Spider-Man, right? You put it right behind your head, and as you go to snap it, your neck, you crush that in the palm of your hand. They hear a loud crunching noise. You fall to the ground and then don't move.
I did something similar with dry pasta.
It is, it's not something that Grandma wants to see. I can just tell you that much. But no, today we're talking Blue-Eyed Samurai because a lot of folks that support this show over at patreon.com/HMP, let's get that one right off the top of the bat here. Those people get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, and get to vote. And then while we didn't have a specific vote this month, you guys told us so many times within the comments of the Patreon section, hey, Blue-Eyed Samurai is something that you guys need to be checking out. We think that you guys would like this. Comments along the lines of, I don't even like anime stuff, and I really love this. So kind of an unofficial vote and everything, but Blue-Eyed Samurai is what we're kind of covering today. Did you guys know anything about this previous to?
My kids had told me that I really should watch it, that they thought it would be something I would like, but I hadn't seen it.
Nothing too crazy though. Okay, cool. John,
I knew literally nothing.
I think, and honestly, to me, that was probably the best way to go into this is not knowing too awful much, because it's interesting. We'll get into all that good stuff. But again, support the show over at patreon.com/HMP. Get all that cool stuff. Help support this show at the same time. And if you can't do that, drop down to the iTunes, give us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Sean?
Humdinger?
Humdinger. I just tried to burp Humdinger.
Oh,
it didn't work. Humdinger.
Good enough. So patreon.com/HMP. Let's get into it, guys. Here's the IMDb plot line for Blue-Eyed Samurai. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. Driven by a dream of revenge against those who made her an outcast, in this Edo period, that's the word I'm saying. Yes, Edo period in Japan, a young warrior cuts a bloody path towards her destiny. This was created by, get this, husband and wife team. You don't really see that too often in the old animes.
No, just the Little Miss Sunshine crew.
So, Michael Green and Amber Nuazami, I believe, are the kind of two names that kind of came up with this. And let's get everybody rolling on this one here, man, because let me sell everybody on this not so anime, because this sucker's got everything. We get an up-to-date little lesson here on racism. Spoiler alert, Americans, we didn't actually invent it. I know a lot of guys think that. We've got an animated style, not quite like anything you've ever seen. Fun with gender roles, fun with the disabled, soup talk, arm chopping, head smashing, torso bifurcation, top knot chopping, mountain descending, suck at Mission Impossible 6. We got arrow dodging, aardvarking, flashbacks, memories. Those are different things, by the way. Skinny dipping for a wish scroll. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure there was more sex and nudity in these 3 episodes than we've had in all 8 years of HMP put together.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
That's something. This is actually just Mulan meets the Bride for the Netflix crowd, I think. This show's got everything.
Hanging a lot of brain, as my friends used to say.
My word. That is okay.
So
Let's get that off the top of the dome here, because that was something that I was certainly not expecting in an animated show, B, that's one on Netflix, and just one that's gotten this much kind of variety and talk and everything. And that ain't nothing that I've heard from it. It's just, oh yeah, by the way, ton of nudity and sexual encounters as well. It's like, my goodness.
Now, from the name Blue Eye Samurai, I knew that our samurai was going to be European or European heritage, some kind of Westerner. I didn't know until I heard the voice that it was going to be a woman, a
Mhm.
female. Is that like a hat on a hat?
A little bit.
I see what you're saying. I think that I think that they make the mistake that George Lucas made on the show, where they want it to be a big surprise by the end of the first episode that it's a woman. Then don't have a lady do the voice.
Yeah, it was like the whole time I'm watching that first episode, I'm like, does nobody else hear that? Like, do they not immediately know that we're dealing with a woman person here? And then I also don't know, because the show is set in a historical period, but it's written in modern day. Should we talk about this character as a trans character or not?
No, so I read an interview with the husband and wife team. It wasn't something that they specifically set out to do or anything, but they were like, oh, it's something that we do find interesting, that that it does reach that it can reach that audience, and people that are reading it that way, they're receptive to it. But I don't think it was something, at least according to them, that they initially had set out to do per se. It was more along the lines of like, this lady, so she has kind of the same, well, I say same, it's obviously separated by hundreds of years and everything, but she is, I don't know if she's of mixed race, but like she's married to a white guy, and they have a child together, and that child had blue eyes, and she was actually really stoked about the kid having blue eyes. And then she kind of questioned herself and even asked, she was just like, that's interesting, why is that I would get excited by that thing that would be, characteristically a white thing and everything. And so that kind of made her think, and ultimately things like that. This came out of a baby, this program. But I just thought that was a really interesting thing, that was the thing that kind of popped off in her head, and just was like, oh, maybe I could approach her from this thing. And her being a woman just kind of added on to that, other thing, because obviously we'll get into it, I'm sure, but just the racial characteristic, that's going on at this particular time and everything. And then you add on top of that, being a woman, and, the women's place in that time, and in geographical areas, certainly of that time and stuff. How that's, like you said, hat on a hat, we're doubling up here. So not only are you kind of that, foreigner devil outside at a time when they were a very homogeneic culture. I'm trying to say that word correctly.
Nice.
But so they're kind of their cultures all together, and this was a time where they actually cordoned off all other cultures. They were very much like, anybody that's an outsider, we don't want nothing to do with you. So having somebody that was, like they said, there was like 4 white guys. That's how secure they were in their area. They know there were only 4 white dudes in that area that could have been your father. And I'm like, that's crazy.
Another interesting Netflix anime to watch in that vein is Yasuke. I don't know if you're familiar with Yasuke, but it's about basically he was a black slave that was brought by Italian missionaries, taken in Japan, and he was a black samurai.
Okay.
But that anime gets a little bit more fantastic. There's magic and a little bit of like sci-fi elements. It's not dealt with as historically accurately as this one is, but it's the same idea. And Yasuke is an actual historical figure. There was a black samurai in the Shogun period named Yasuke.
I love this time period. Because the cool part about it is, it's like, it's a part of, world history and everything, but it's so far removed from what we know today that it just seems, it almost like, take for what it is, but an alien. It's alien to us because we just don't know. It's so far removed that, like, I love that stuff.
I love the Edo period. And even though, maybe more accurate and professional historians can write a big long letter about why I'm wrong to say this, but just in terms of the stories that I like, the Edo period is like the medieval period of Japan to me. It's their feudal period. The samurai are kind of like knights, and I love stuff in that setting the same way I like stuff in the medieval settings in Europe, even though they're a few hundred years apart. And like I said, historians can give me all the reasons why the Edo period is different than the medieval period. I don't really want to hear it. I'm just saying in my mind that that's the kind of appeal the stories have. And my favorite stories in Japan are like these samurai stories, whether it's something like Lone Wolf and Cub, or like when it comes to Kurosawa, I like Yojimbo, and I like Hidden Fortress. I like the stuff that's kind of in this Shogun period better than stuff that's in like the Meiji Restoration and later. It's just this is the period where I really enjoy the stories.
Sean, what were you kind of opening thoughts with everything?
You know, I always look at this sort of like samurai tale, kind of like, you know, being a filthy Westerner. I always think of them as like Westerns. You
Yeah.
know, it has the same feel, it has the same size, you know, stranger in a strange town kind of a thing. I'm the best I am at what I do, and what I do ain't pretty, like all that stuff. You know, it has the same feel. It's why they're interchangeable.
Well,
Why these two things are interchangeable. But I think that whenever something takes me by surprise is really when it is the thing that fascinates me, because the 3 episodes of this that we watched, there was not a single moment that I did not see coming, which is not great. Don't get me wrong, not love. I really enjoyed the show. I think that I love the art style. I like that it's rotoscoped. Like it's certainly, there is certainly a live action element that was originally there for the animation style. But one of the issues that I have with it is that there's nothing in the storyline of this that makes you go, "Oh wow, I did not see that coming."
Yeah, there's a lot of things that it's just that it's laid out. It's not in the worst way, but it is kind of tropey. There are things. This is, in a good sense, I would say, like in kind of in a hip hop sense, this is an amalgamation of a lot of stuff. A lot of things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of influences that you can see here, there, and everywhere. Some of them very obvious, some of them slightly hidden. Like your obvious one is obviously when you play, the track from Kill Bill and everything. Obviously, we know what we're doing right there. There's like, it's almost not fathomable to me that's the track that they chose there. It's like you could have chose damn near anything else, and that's what you chose. It's something that's, you know, got that iconic level status. That automatically people just go, well, that's from Kill Bill. They don't even know the name of the song. They just go,
Yeah,
oh,
they should have just played the Star Wars theme song.
Yeah, like it would have been the same difference essentially. Yeah, play
Really.
James
One
Bond.
thing I will say is a lot of Gen Z folks have seen Star Wars in some capacity. A lot of them have not seen Kill Bill yet. So they might end up seeing Kill Bill down the road and say, oh, that's where Blue Eyed Samurai got that.
Imagine
But
how
that doesn't.
that
But
cool
that to me that doesn't matter. Like, look, you clearly pulled this from something that is very similar in vein, and that to me is I don't think it's plagiarism. I think it's less than that, but it definitely was not the right choice.
Yeah.
I'll say that maybe I would feel differently about it if Quentin Tarantino were a bastion of originality, but what did he do that wasn't taken from something else? You know,
Of course.
Ouroboros here.
But he also is mixing it up to make his own thing. And that's kind of like, there are times where you have to roll your eyes at just how much Tarantino is taking from something. But overall, what Tarantino is making is something original and wholly new. Like, you know, he takes from everything. Whereas I think that if you have a movie where it's about a lady out for revenge, and then you're making a thing that's about a lady out for revenge, you probably don't want to use the same soundtrack.
Yeah, of all things, and it's not like it's that far removed. If you want to take stuff from like Zatoichi and Yojimbo and a whole bunch of other like great samurai films and stuff, please do.
They're influenced by both of those here. They
Yes.
admit as much. They're influenced by both of those, and also Sergio Leone. I mean, you're talking about westerns, but they very much were going for a man with no name feel with the lead character here. I can't even remember the lead character's name, so they really accomplished that man with no name thing here.
Yeah,
Blondie.
Yeah, but even the hat with the face hidden and you know, the moment where it looks like the young princeling has equaled her in battle, and then she takes the handicapping weights off of her wrists and ankles. I mean, that to me was a totally nice, awesome moment that maybe is paying some homage to other things, but it also felt wholly original to me. And I feel like they did a good job of paying homage rather than just straight up stealing. And, you know, so many things have stolen from Japanese cinema that if you're going to steal from Western cinema, you might as well use it to make something that's set in Japan.
Oh, it's the Ouroboros. Everybody is influencing everybody all of the time.
Yeah, I literally have no problem with the influences. All I'm saying is that the only thing that struck my ear as wrong is that, you know, we're not even 20 years from Kill Bill, and you're using the same music like that. That
I'll say
probably
that-
wasn't
from
the right
the
move.
trailer, like the
I'll
trailer
say
song,
that
for Christ's sake.
I didn't even notice that, but I've only seen Kill Bill once. It wasn't something that I went back and revisited.
I visited so many times. So good.
Yeah, it's amazing. But the originality of this thing, I realize that that's not what they're going for. Like, I know they want to go over well-trod ground. Like, that's kind of what they're going for here, which is fine. But, you know, it doesn't mean that I have to love it because they did it.
Yes,
Like,
you do. Yes, you do. You have to love it. You have to.
there are certain visuals to this show that I really liked. Like, I really love when they're at that festival and everybody skinny dips in the water and they put their hands up and the lady walks across the hands to the little island.
Yeah, that was nice.
That is an amazing scene. That to me is the highlight of what we watched with these 3 episodes. I think that is something wholly new. But when it comes to that kind of thing, when I say that it's unoriginal, basically what I'm saying is there's not a single moment in the show that is surprising, or like there's not a plot turn, there's not a narrative, there's not a character where you're just like, oh, I've never seen that before. Like, literally every single moment of the show feels like something else that you've seen before. And that's fine. But I'd like to have seen something more than just the hands up at the festival and the lady walking across the hands. Whether it's a new character, a different style of, like, something new to a plot point, like anything like that at all. It's literally like, oh, the fat guy is into food and he's good natured and he's following her around. Like, you know, all of these things. It's literally like the most well-trod ground you can possibly walk over, and that's fine. I would like to have seen something that is surprising.
I think a guy with no hands who can use chopsticks was a new one on me.
Okay.
I like that he's got not only that, but he's got a plethora of other eating instruments. He's got, like, this is what I figure Bruce might have one day. Is like he goes to like a restaurant or something, and he's got his own attaché case full of his own particular instruments that he likes to use. So then he pulls out his own fork and knife because he's too good to be using the fork and knife that are at this restaurant. No. He needs his own.
I like the idea. It's an attaché case, and you open it, it's filled with like picnic plastic forks. Because like I don't like to use the same fork twice.
That's at old what's his name from Sling Blade there.
Gosh. Oh, Billy Bob?
Billy Bob Thornton is he won't eat with metal utensils from what I'm to understand. Only likes the plastics.
Oh, is that where that movie plot point came from? I can't even remember the movie. It's terrible.
I'm fairly certain that's from his actual life and everything. He doesn't like.
I think that was a Howard Hughes thing where he didn't want anything that had been in anybody else's mouth to be in his mouth, and the only way he knew that it was fresh was like fresh out of the package plastic.
Yeah, that's a level I never want to get to, where I have a problem with a washed spoon, where I'm just like, oh no, I don't know where this has been. I'm like,
nightmare.
I don't need to know, nor do I care. As far as I'm concerned, every time it comes out of the drawer, that spoon's brand new, baby.
Hey, I know where my mouth's been, and it's way worse than anywhere that spoon could.
Darn right.
But Adam, I'm correct, right? Like, were you catching the rotoscoping? Didn't it feel like this thing was rotoscoped?
I don't think it was rotoscoped. I don't think there was mocap here,
or whatever that is, because there's such a real element to this, like people getting off horses.
This is from an article that I was reading. I didn't get all the way into it. It says, so this is neither anime nor animation, but has a live action twinge and puppeteering elements that can create something new within a larger spectrum of Western and Eastern approaches. Why was this the styling the way to go, and what did you want to say about your characters in your world? And the lady goes, with Blue Eyed Samurai, we just wanted to break all the boxes. Mitsu isn't Japanese or white. She's not female or male. This show is not like anything anybody's ever seen. It's not a cartoon. It's not animation. It's not live action. So she says it's all of these things and none.
Well, I know it's a French studio that did it, and as far as the quality goes, it's nice, but it still lacks a little something that somebody like Ufotable or Mappa would bring. Like the actual Japanese animation, I think would have been the better way to go, especially Ufotable. I mean, you saw the Demon Slayer movie, Adam. You understand just how how amazing this story could have been if it was animated a little bit more like that.
I will say this though, like animation is not one of the problems that I have with this. Not that I have tons of problems or anything, but the animation I really liked because it's unique and interesting.
Yes,
it doesn't
that's why I like it
look
too.
like everything else out there. There's like a painting quality to it, but like it's still animated at the same time. There's a lot of interesting camera moves and rack focuses and stuff that they're doing. There's a lot of different camera setups and changes and things. So they are not like, this is not just sweeping this over and going like, oh, we don't care. The people that are involved with this truly do care what they're doing and putting on screen for everybody. And it definitely shows in the level of detail that's kind of going on here. And so many of the things where you're just like, you didn't have to do that, but they did. And it made it look a lot cooler.
It's also the first animation style I've seen that's new, that is in no way influenced by Into the Spider-Verse, where everything that's like a new animation style since Into the Spider-Verse, you can see the Into the Spider-Verse-ness of it. Mm-hmm. And this is the first thing, which is a new style of animation where like there's none of that in there.
Some of it had to be captured though, because there are like some of the fight scenes, like with the chopsticks and stuff. That is so Yin Wu Ping kind of choreography that just like, it's just beautiful. I'm like, these people have been watching and going, they took all the good stuff. Like, you know, we mentioned they took, but they took all the good things. I'll say that for them. They took all the really cool, awesome stuff and jammed them together. And it at least worked for me. I was shocked at how bloody this thing was.
I do wish you'd push Ringo around in a baby cart. Like that would make it a little bit better for me.
That would be hilarious. A giant cart though, just so he could fit into it.
But are either of you familiar with Miraculous? It's a French, sort of like a French anime with Ladybug Girl and Cat Noir.
Can't say I do.
I don't know it.
Yeah, because that's kind of the feel I'm getting from this animation a little bit. Is from Miraculous.
I feel like you had to like this guy though, Bruce. Like, first of all, he wears a pizza box for a hat. He's a big dude. He ain't got no hands. Like, this has got to be Bruce's boy.
And I love it.
If there's somebody who's really pathetic, like that's your guy.
I love it that he's the one who got his wish at the Wish Festival or whatever, when everybody was flopping and donging out there in the cold water, which, you know, a lot of shrinkage had to be going on there. But he came up with the thing in his teeth when everybody else was trying to grab with their hands. That was great because it takes a little courage to start snapping your teeth at rods underwater in those circumstances.
Yeah, you want to be very careful, especially in this show. There was almost like, I swear, I thought we were about to get a little, to the face at something at some point. I wouldn't have put it past.
They gave a whole new meaning to hang out with my wang out. I'll tell you that.
Because there's a couple of portions in this, like we've talked about it before, where the programs that you put on, and like if someone walks in the living room while you're watching this, you're like, oh, all right, how do I explain this? There's several of those within this where you're just like, listen, it's good for this. I understand the point in the story. I understand the dramatic point you're making with it, but I am watching these two animated people do it for like a minute and a half.
As a person who's probably closer to the Tobias Funke school of nudity, I'm so glad I didn't live in these times where this would have been expected of me.
Welcome to the 1600s. Take it off. Overall, though, like I didn't know what to expect going in, having just only really kind of the name and stuff. But what I was shocked about was how decent everything was, how good the action scenes were, and there is enough.
I'd like to put an exclamation point on that, because oftentimes action scenes in animation just don't excite me like they do in live action. But here they really, really had me in that first episode in particular. All the action going down and the fighting. I mean, I was so into that. It really pulled me in as much as John Wick or something of that level.
Now, what are you kind of like? That was an element, I guess, maybe I hadn't quite thought about altogether, was just kind of the that era of being not knocking every other kind of outsider out of their area, locking off those walls and stuff, and then seeing somebody that's blue eyes that they consider like a half breed or a half human or something, like just really like gross stuff that we don't think about that happened thousands of years ago that clearly did. I just like that it shows, at least me, again, like Sean said, another stupid Westerner here who just doesn't know much about history and stuff, to go like, oh yeah, there's things outside of our four walls sometimes.
Yes, definitely are.
I think that's a neat part of it. That is a neat idea to like to put forward the we're locked off. Any other is, it's like a Western where you go into a town when you're the stranger, and now everybody hates you because they don't know you. Like it is that same feel, but it's a little different, which is what I liked about it. And it's a reverse racism. No, a reverse racism would be marrying them. It's racism,
It's just racism.
a way I've never seen before.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just it's a little outside of the regular purview there, and you're like, oh, okay, this is another interesting way to kind of take this. Speaking of interesting, though, can I say this? Because I dog the man on almost all the occasions because, frankly, he's done the same thing for 60 years, and we've all just kind of been like, yay! But George Takei actually given a good performance here. Congratulations, George Takei. I love when
he's
he
good in
comes to
Heroes
town.
too, dude.
Yeah.
And this is voice acting, so it might be a little bit easier for George Takei to he's not a young guy anymore, so voice acting, you don't have to be as physical probably. So I think that's a plus also, because he's got to be in his.
Yeah, take a guess,
90?
guys, because I'm gonna look it up.
I'm gonna guess 90, man, or at least 88.
Oh no, not 90. I'm gonna say I'm gonna go 81. 81, Bob.
Okay, 1937 is the year he was born.
I'm not a mather. You got the wrong guy for that job. Can I draw you a picture of George Takei? I could do that for you.
87.
So it's like 87. Yeah.
No, that's very close. Price is Right rules. I got that one.
Yeah, because I went over.
But yeah, I was happy to like. At first, I was like, "Is that George Takei's voice?" And it's like, "Yeah, it is." Oh, look, he decided to show up and do some acting instead of just leaning into the "I'm George Takei. Here's my George Takei voice."
Yeah,
it's the George Takei voice.
Adam,
you
how much of that do you think is him? The people are like, "Look, we paid for George Takei. We want George Takei." Like, there's a lot of that happens with him. I'm imagining, but like, whenever he gets a chance to act, he's great. Like his character in Heroes totally turned me around on George Takei.
Have you heard of the movie? It's a space western called Oblivion that was written by comic book writer Peter David.
Did we not cover that on this here podcast?
I think we did
several years
I don't
ago.
think we covered Oblivion on here, man.
With
There's
Tom
no way.
Cruise?
It's a Charles Band movie.
Oh, the Wheat Color.
It's a totally different one.
Another Oblivion. That's why you need
there
to
was
copyright.
no George Takei in the
titles.
one that we covered here. But there's a line in it, and there's a whole big debate where he plays the town drunk, and he holds up a bottle of booze, and he says, "Jim, beam me up." And there's a big argument over whether he was told to do that or he insisted on doing that, because a lot of the cliche George Takei is stuff that he brings and insists as being part of his brand, I think.
That does not shock me at all, that George Takei has a little something that he believes that he brings to the party. And it's just like, George, you are best in the ways that we can just steer you in the direction that we would want. Not necessarily like he's got like a lot of.
It's not too late though to watch Charles Band's Oblivion next week.
He's got a little Anthony Daniels in him, George Takei. Anybody get that feeling?
Yes, very much so. I never put those two things together, but absolutely.
I just put it now. I'm just like, you know what? Those guys are very similar. I've only done the one thing, and I kind of just lean into that.
Let me tell you a little
Asian
something
Psycho.
about Oblivion here, guys.
Mm-hmm.
So the 1994 Oblivion, the Charles Band Oblivion. First of all, it boasts the talents of Andrew Divoff. You know Meg Foster. You know who that is from They Live.
She was in Shrunken Heads.
She's in They Live. Yeah, she's in a lot of stuff with that guy with Band, because I'm guessing like, will you do 2 movies for the price of 1 movie? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're already in the Philippines.
Yeah. Isaac Hayes, Julie Newmar. There's a lot of names in here, not to mention George Takei. Yeah.
Listen, like when you get the big stars, you get the big stars.
And the Peter David, the movie Oblivion, not so well respected, but Peter David, a respected comic book writer, right? We all agree on that.
I believe so, yeah.
So he got very angry when the comic book Cowboys versus Aliens came out that his story had been ripped off.
Oh.
And he just goes, "That's my Charles Band picture, doggone it."
He has the funniest line I've ever heard about the TV show Enterprise. The failed Star Trek show from the 2000s.
Peter David does?
Peter David does.
Okay.
Where they're talking to him because they know he's a big Trek fan. It might not be Peter David. It might be another comic book writer, but I think it's Peter David.
James Michael Straczynski.
No, it's definitely not.
Okay.
So let's say it's Peter David. But Peter David says they ask him what he thought about the finale of Enterprise. And if you've seen it, it's funny. He goes, it's like there's a guy in a Star Trek uniform watching a rerun of Star Trek. That's what the finale of Enterprise is, which is funny because Will Riker, basically the last episode of that show, Will Riker, who's on the Enterprise from the Next Generation, is in the holodeck seeing the last days of the Enterprise.
Wow.
And so so it's Will Riker and his lady. I can't remember her name.
Tasha Yar, maybe?
Yeah, no, the lady that could
Counselor Troy
sense your emotions. Yes, Troy. So it's Riker and Troy on the holodeck walking through the Enterprise, and it's amazing. It's so bad. It's so wrongheaded. It is incredible how bad it is. And he had the best line. That line is just so magnificent to me. It's like watching someone wearing a Star Trek uniform watching a rerun of Star Trek.
Isn't this crazy, guys? Like, yeah, it's something else.
But I like Scott Bakula.
Me too.
Speaking of just things that are, I like the kind of martial arts poetry that's throughout all of this. That's the best way that I can call it, is just all of the little sayings and all of, the wisdom and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I love that crap.
Neat touches. Yeah, neat touches.
Just like my blade will never go the blah, blah, blah. And the blah, what, any of those little junk like that, I eat that crap up. And just, do you, one of the notes that I wrote down when I was watching this was, do you think Frank Miller's mad? Because Frank Miller, this feels like something Frank Miller would be like, God, I could have done that and it would have been really, really cool. It would have been way worse, but it would have been cool. And in his mind, it would have been amazing. It would not nearly be what this is, but he would be like, yeah, why couldn't they give me that money?
They didn't go far enough in the racism department.
No,
Frank Miller's like, they needed a third hat.
How come there's not more rapes in this?
Dude, there's enough sex in it to where it was just like, even within these 3 episodes, you're just like, all right, what it's surprise. I don't think even within most of Netflix's, original live action movies or anything that there's, much, if any, nudity from memory serves. So I am
not the person.
It's just weird seeing it in an animated form where we're just like, I hope 10-year-olds aren't watching this. It's a little much for a 10-year-old. And they just
10-year-olds probably are.
That boy from Hero is in it. He's the Heroes guy is in it.
No 10-year-old has watched Heroes.
They
love
it.
A lot of anime, so this is getting recommended to them.
That is true.
Love it.
You know what? The best way I can describe this movie, my feeling towards this movie, is that I think the people who made it are really, really good at their job. I like a lot of the touches. I like the animation style, with the exception of that one song. I think that the soundtrack is fine. The problem I have with it is literally the plot of the show. And because it's I don't want to bash it too hard. It feels so unoriginal. The stuff that, like the small stuff, like Bruce, the stuff where you talk about the weights and stuff like that, like that's not part of the plot. Like that's a nice little device to hang off the plot. Like all of that stuff is cool. But the stuff where I'll ask the two of you, is there a single moment in the show where you're surprised by where we're going?
I ultimately no. I mean, I guess I was surprised when everybody started getting naked, but that's about I don't know that that's necessarily a plot point per se. It's just a thing that happened within the show itself. No, for me, it's less about like, at least so far within these 3 episodes, less about all of that and more about just kind of like, I don't want to say the cool element, because that makes it feel like I'm kind of denigrating everything else maybe, Because I don't think I don't think it's quite like trying to be. I don't think it's trying to be Quentin Tarantino per se. Even though we rip off one of his song, quote unquote, one of his songs for the thing. I don't feel like it's trying to ape that per se, but I don't feel like it's also swinging in another direction. Like Sean said, that feels wholly original.
Beginning. I was surprised by the very beginning when we took a walk on the wild side and he was a she.
Really?
Yes, I did not know that was going to happen in this story.
You didn't know
that Western man who was a samurai.
You didn't know that the character that's being voiced by a woman
until she spoke. I didn't. I mean, I saw the title as Blue Eye Samurai, and I think it's going to be about a blue-eyed man.
I don't know why I knew it was a girl.
I'm like, whoa, is something wrong here? Did they make a mistake? And I had to go look up the casting. It's like, no, they didn't make a mistake. This is part of the story. All right, I guess that's something I wasn't realizing was going to happen. Like I said, I didn't expect what I called a hat on a hat, and that's what I felt like I got hit with right up front.
So, Screen Rant says, "Hey, here's some stuff that if you like the Blue Eyed Samurai and you're looking for other things to watch out there that are kind of similar, let's show you some things. Take a guess as to what number 10 is. I don't think in a million years you'll be able to guess this 1983 film that they put as like, hey, if you like Blue Eyed Samurai, you'll definitely love Yentl.
1983, Missing in Action.
Yentl. I can't believe why.
Oh yeah, it's a woman dressed as a man, right?
Yep. Then they got a little Mulan, Quentin Tarantino stuff in there, Samurai Champloo.
On there. Is Tootsie on the list?
They're pulling a reverse Tootsie with a sword.
So yeah, it's just your regular, like they're almost outside of that one. Okay, Lady Snowblood. Then they just get into some obvious, just these things are animes. Just watch these animes kind of thing. Afro Samurai and number 1, Arcane. I guess Arcane's like a new show.
Yeah, I think Arcane's like a spinoff of some kind of video game.
So there you go. But ultimately, like I said, there's enough about this. I love the style of it. I like the way that it looks. I like what it's representing to me. I agree with Sean that we are kind of in a no man's land as far as like kind of plot goes, because we're not going too far different. But then again, like 3 episodes in, we got 5 more to go for the the end here. So some wild stuff could happen. You never really know.
You can say that it feels like well-traveled ground, but at the same time, I don't know that there's ever been a story about the Gaijin arms dealer from Ireland who is the bad guy that the foreign bad guy has to be taken down by his offspring. I didn't. But again,
you're not talking about the plot of the movie. You're talking about a character that's in the show. Like that's not a plot point.
I think that the circumstances of your primary antagonist is essential to your plot and your storytelling. And I mean, if we're going to be like nitpickers, there's 7 plots. So of course
this isn't not a nit. I mean, this is like the basis of the show is that it's unsurprising to me. And like, if I can guess where your thing is going every step of the way, like that is my problem with the show.
Yeah, she's got a list of like 4 guys that she needs to go and kill, and
three. One of them's already dead.
Well, ultimately it was 4. Now we're down to 3. But that's kind of it.
If this was a superhero movie, we would be nothing but complaining about how it is the exact same thing we've seen 100 times. But because there is that one, like the thing that keeps this off of like. Like that dirty list, the one where it's like, like movies that are just like okay, like the thing that the difference between that movie and this show is that this show has like very unique animation, and it looks great. Like that's the only thing that's keeping it off of the like your Jet Li's The One. And stuff like that.
Yeah, honestly, if this was animated cheaper than this and stuff, and did not look as cool, I think we would definitely be docking a lot more points because of the stylistic thing that we've got here. And I think that maybe, let me ask you guys this, is because this is while it looks to be an anime, is not necessarily an anime per se, because we are, this is from the United States. This is something that we put out. So this is a Western thing, but seen through like, the Eastern lens and everything like that. how good of a job do you think we did? At least these 3 episodes goes.
What do you mean? Say
Of
again?
just like just Americans doing their take on, what's usually a more, Japanese thing. I suppose.
This is way more Bruce's wheelhouse than mine.
I would say it's hard for us to ring in on it. It'd be like asking the 3 of us, how well did they write that woman? Do we think that they really connected with how a woman feels?
Well, I certainly know how
that's
women.
An excellent way of putting that.
I know. Well, listen, sure, we don't know how women think now.
I do think
but
a story can be good, even if you're not surprised. But that's a story. That's a discussion maybe for a Dinger Zone sometime.
Listen, I just know the women of Edo Japan era. Those I know. The modern women I don't understand, but some about women in the 1600s, I think I understand.
It's better than a fella from South Carolina.
It's better than Yasuke. I'll put it that way.
All right, before we get to our final review here and everything, we have to ask ourselves, well, this is a good one. How does this not anime relate back 1-to-1? Good luck with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Ooh.
Konnichiwa, Mr. Stallone. Greg Brilliant was the publicist on Blue Eye Samurai, and he also served as the publicist on Expendables 3. So there you go. Stallone connection achieved. However, I would like to speak to you today about this man's name, Greg Brilliant.
Oh, man.
Looking through his IMDb, his bio says he was born and raised on Long Island, and he moved to Los Angeles to begin his career. All of that checks out. Nothing to see here. However, when you scroll down his IMDb page, one of the drop-down menus lists also known as.
Uh-oh.
So I checked it out because there's no way that this guy was born with the name Greg Brilliant, right? So I hit the drop-down menu, and under aliases, it says, I should explain. See, Greg Brilliant spells his name Gregg, Brilliant.
Oh, boy.
So 3 G's in that first name of Greg. So when I hit the drop-down menu, his alias reads as Greg Brilliant with 2 G's. Greg Brilliant. So Greg Brilliant is also known as Greg Brilliant. How the hell is that possible? I looked everywhere I could find to see what this guy's real name might be, and I found nothing. So here's the thing. I think Greg Brilliant might actually be this guy's real name. When your name is Greg Brilliant, your name is your nickname. You don't need a nickname. So, I imagine that when people speak about him when he's not in the room, they just use his full name because why wouldn't you? They say stuff like, have you taken Greg Brilliant's lunch order yet? Greg Brilliant's cat is a real so-and-so. Greg Brilliant is not a fan of candied yams. What a world we live in. And there you have it, Mr. Stallone. This week's Stallone connection is Greg Brilliant, which is probably his real name. I hope to hear from you soon, the Hartford Hellion.
We had, I'm sure everybody's had that. It's like you have that one person or a couple people where you just their whole name is the thing that you have to say the entire time.
Mm-hmm. I have one of those names. People say my whole name to me all the time.
Because we had John Jacob or something like that. That was one of these kids' names. It's just 2 first names. It's that's that's the first and last name though, 2 first names. So you just call him that consistently and all the time and stuff. So maybe he's one of those dudes. But my favorite growing up, I never met this girl. I never saw her, but for years I would hear her name on the intercom at school, and I thought the cruelest parents ever. And I'm sure she's married and got a good name change now for her and everything. But her name was Holly Hollyfield.
Wow.
I was like, that is so cruel of your parents. Why would they do that?
What a great name.
It is
Holly Hollyfield?
Yeah, Holly Hollyfield. It's a comic book name if there ever was one.
That's amazing.
But all right, Bruce, what were your thoughts on the first 3 episodes of Blue-Eyed Samurai, and what do you want more?
I'm grading it kind of on a curve, I guess. Animation to me just feels like it's its own thing, so a little bit different from how I would approach it if it was live action. Also, episodic stuff kind of hits me a little bit differently than a movie does. So I'm taking all those things into consideration, but I honestly found it enjoyable. I really loved the action. Was really in the first episode. It started to feel like it drug a little bit to me on the second episode, but I was back into it by the third. I think this is pretty solid Tim Drake.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of same. I was sort of right kind of in that area. I think I'm probably going to go Tim Drake as well. My lull actually came probably second act of episode 1, which is a little longer than the other episodes, but like there was a tiny little lull there, but then the action kind of picks up again at the end. And that is one of the nice parts about this is that there's enough sections. There's your drama, there's a little bit of comedy stuff, there's plenty of action stuff. So they're rolling with just about everything in there. And I thought that was really cool. I love how we continue to stay along. Just again, really neat things like you don't think about people traveling places, and then like we've got these rich people in this box, and you got 6 cats outside dragging. That's your car. We don't have horses and buggies. We got 6 dudes that are going to carry this, Ark of the Covenant that we sit inside while you bring that down to the local whatever the hell.
A litter.
I thought that was great.
The inhumanity is the reason. I mean, that's why they did it.
Well, yeah. I mean, if somebody's going to do it, then you don't want to ruin a horse. Get rid of a couple of these low-level people.
Humans are free.
We don't have to feed them when they're done with the trip. They're just there. They freeze in the tundra and they're just fine. Sean?
For me, all the conversation that Bruce and I had over the show, and I'm going hello Damian Wayne with it as well. I don't hate the show. I don't. I think that it isn't. To me, it's a very easy watch. There's nothing challenging about it at all. But I do when it is a lovely thing to watch. It's just so pretty, which is a really good reason to watch something. So for me, it's a low Damian Wayne.
Gotta turn that subwoofer down, boy. Them subsonics be wrecking that house, man. Holy moly. There's some drum beats in there that I was just like, listen, I gotta turn this off.
Really? When I don't have that.
Woo!
So
there's some bangers in there that are just like when some of these drums and stuff hit, I'm just like, man, the
like
walls
you're watching
are
a
shaking.
Nolan movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very much so. And I'm just like, okay, my speakers are nice enough where I could just turn this out and still have enough bass to deal with it because my word. But listen, I'll take that. That's why you pay the extra money for actual surround sound for Netflix. Screw you, Netflix. This is why I'm canceling you yet again. That is it, everybody. We got another one coming for you next week. In the meantime, Bruce, sell us something. Tell us something. What do you got?
Hey, go to my YouTube channel. Check out Werewolf Fighter while you still got the chance. I'm leaving it up for a little bit longer. Then I'm going to have to kind of turn it into private to comply with some rules I got to follow. But anyway, go check it out. I'm going to leave it up for another week. Maybe I'll put some behind the scenes stuff up and everything. So go check it out while you still can.
You've heard of the Disney Vault. This is the Bruce Leslie shoebox. He's going to put it back in there, and it ain't coming out for a couple of decades. So get your getting while you can.
It won't come out until after festival season.
We'll come out after festival season. You just heard him right then and there. Sean, what else?
So, Adam, have you seen it yet?
I meant to. I will watch it today. I will have a review for you next week. I am the worst. I'm a scum. I'll tell you that right here, right now. I'm the worst. I'm lucky I got all this in today. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, it truly. Thank you guys for scheduling this for me. We've got family in town.
Not at all. But
you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, and that's
shake them down at your local Piggly Wiggly when you see him, because God knows he's going to be there.
There ain't no Piggly Wiggly here, buddy.
There ain't no Piggly Wiggly anywhere, I don't think, anymore. Oh, I did see a dude wearing a Piggly Wiggly shirt the other day, no less, and I was just like, I don't know if I like this or hate it. I can't tell.
Well, the IGA is still around, which bought out Piggly Wiggly, and that's where you can get the shirts.
Yeah, it's not like that Maverick place buying the Come and Go gas station. You hear about that? Anyways, that is it, everybody. Next week, we're going to be talking about the first half, because it's half, right, of Invincible. The new season is out on Netflix, so we're going to be covering the first half of that next week. I'm excited. I think we all were pretty big fans of the first couple. Was it just first season?
First season.
Between that and The Boys and everything, I'm starting to get all the all the Amazon programs jumbled up in my brain, going, which one's which again? But we'll be covering all of those Invincible things next week. So come back for a little Kirkman and more, as they say. That is it. Patreon.com/HMP. That is it for Bruce Leslie. Sweet shout to Kovacs from the internet. I'm Adam Portress. Stay super, everybody. I don't know what's going on. I'm out of it.
Bye, Marty and Evie.